Alright, what's up guys? We're going to go ahead and go with the install for version 2.0 of the Phantom. Everything is fairly similar except there's a few modifications. First off, if you notice, we now have just two batteries for the dump pack. These are a lot bigger than the old ones. Supposedly these can draw a lot more amperage, and they actually have a lot more pulling power for the motor over time. With the Phantom. So this will actually run a little bit better than the 1.5 pack, and I guess it actually spools up a little bit faster with these batteries. If you look over here, this is actually an Odyssey Extreme. The Odyssey Extreme is a starter battery, as some of you are familiar with motorsports. Due to some issues with some people with the old battery, I never had any issues, and some people in Canada didn't have issues. Rob went ahead and started recommending the Odyssey battery, mostly because I guess a lot of us are running stereo systems or high-end stereo systems, or there's various items that are draining the battery. The Phantom's not draining the battery, but something is. So he went ahead and recommended the Odyssey battery so that we don't have any more issues with starting in cold weather. But again, the old battery was working just fine, but whatever. I got the new one here too. The actual casing and the motor, I'm assuming it has remained the same for the Phantom 2.0, and the controller has actually gotten a software upgrade. So, and the reason why the controller has gotten a software upgrade is because now we have partial boost. And if you listen really carefully, you can hear that there's actually two clicks now on the throttle activation. The first click is for a partial boost. It creates about half PSI to the engine, and then full throttle will actually create about a max of 5 PSI, give or take. So this is actually really exciting. I haven't even driven the car with this yet, so this is literally the first install of the version 2.0 here. And I'm going to get going on this. A lot of it's going to be the same. The biggest difference is going to be the wiring for the batteries. And that's about it. Everything else is going to remain the same. So I'm going to get started on that, and we'll see where we go. So now we're going to go straight to the car. We're going to go ahead and disconnect the battery, and we're going to start working and remove the battery and the old tray. And then we're going to go ahead and start removing the airbox and the air intake. So let's go ahead and start working on that. Okay, so what we have here is going to be the actual air intake here for the car. Now what I've already done is I've removed the cold start tube here. It's just a clamp that you're going to need to use some pliers on to slide it out. And then I've already removed the actual two clamps that hold it to the throttle body and to the airbox. These clamps are actually held in place with a Phillips screwdriver. Go ahead and just remove those. And also what I've done is I've actually removed it's the sound generator. The sound generator goes from the air intake, and it goes across and up and over here and down below. You're going to have to get rid of it for this install. Air intake, and I'm going to go ahead and do that now. You just slide it out from the throttle body and crank it out. It's nice and easy. I've already removed the clamps, so it makes it a lot easier. The next step actually requires actually removing the air box completely. So what we're going to go ahead and have to do is remove the MAF, mass airflow sensor, and also remove all the bolts for the air box. Now there is actually a bolt here, a bolt down there, you can see it right here, and also you're going to have a resonator from this part all the way to about right here. There's actually a resonator that fits right here. That resonator we're actually going to have to remove. And per Rob's instructions, the Phantom's instructions, there is actually a rivet here. When you remove it, there's going to be a rivet. I believe there's 3 rivets on the setup. Rob's going to give you a nice cap here to put on top of the airbox, as well as a clamp here. Now, what you're going to have to do to remove that resonator is actually drill out the rivets. I recommend using a small drill first to remove that. To remove those rivets, and then go with a little bit bigger one. This is really one of those situations where slow and steady makes all the difference in the world. Please take your time. Those rivets get really hot, so be careful when you're removing it. I don't have the system. I don't have that resonator anymore, so I can't show you how I removed it. I apologize. But just take your time and you'll be fine. So you have 3 bolts, 1, 2, and then the third one down below. You're going to pop out the resonator after removing the mass airflow sensor and drill out those three or four rivets, and you'll be safe. Mine, I didn't do a perfect job on, and it's fine because this cap will cover up all those issues that you have. But just make sure you take your time and you'll be fine. So there we go. Now, this next part's pretty important. You're gonna go ahead and have to make sure that this is lined up correctly. Now and the reason why this is important is we wanna make sure that this supercharger is actually lined up both across the car this way, let's call that our Y direction, our X direction across the passenger to driver's side, and then also in our Z direction. We want to make sure that this is lined up nice and straight up and down. So when you're right before you tighten these bolts, you're going to want to make sure that this is kind of twisted correctly so that this is all nice and straight. When you actually have it in a good position, go ahead and get a number 8 connection. It's going to be an 8, and go ahead and tighten it down when you have it straight. And as you can see, I like to work on the airbox end first. Don't over tighten this screw, otherwise that'll flatten your airbox, and you are good to go. And if you do this right, your connection should be fairly flush here in front of the airbox as well as here, and we're looking good. And I'm just going to go ahead and check all my connections here, make sure they're nice and tight, and they are. Let's go to the next step. Right here, you're going to want to remove from the cold air start the elbow that is here normally, and you're just going to use a straight in to the supercharger here. So make sure that you remove that, tighten that out, slide it in, and tighten it down right here. It's nice and easy, no problem. Okay, so the next part, what we're going to go ahead and do is actually connect the control box. And the controller is going to control the motor, and as well it talks to the dump packs and to the sends a voltage reading to our reader inside the car. Now, to connect the control box, there's a nice little hole right here in the hood of the car. It's as if it's there ready for us. There's going to be a bolt. Now, what you're going to want to do is slide the bolt underneath, and there's a rubber grommet like so. And you're going to slide that on top. And Rob did that for us so that it's easier to hold that in place. Then go ahead, grab your control box. Now you should have the box onto your screw. Hold it in place so that you don't lose the screw. I've done that once or twice. And go ahead and bolt it on. Now this bolt here is a number 10 metric. And if you want to use a mesh underneath, probably tighten it. Okay, so this is for the new battery install. Now we have to go ahead and put all the dump batteries and the starter battery in there. Now it is a slightly different location in relation to the old battery, meaning that the positive and negative are going to swap positions, it looks like. But other than that, it's pretty similar. I'm going to go ahead and knock this in here. I'm grabbing the batteries now. So first things first, we're going to have the big dump battery on the left side here. All the way over here. And let me grab the next one. so. And last but not least, the starter battery, which goes on at the end. Now, for those of you who watched my previous videos, you'll notice that this is a heck of a lot more spacious. The batteries take up a lot less space. They also weigh about 4 pounds lighter, but it looks really good in there, and I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the next step of what I have to take. I have assuming I'm going to go ahead and connect the dump pack battery cables, but let's find out. Okay, before I go and put on the dump pack battery, I want to point out something really quick. The auxiliary charger, it's an optional kit. Before, the positive used to be on the right side. Please make sure that you realize the positive now is on the left side on the battery dump pack. Make sure you connect it to the right spot. So yellow wire is going to go to the actual terminal here, connect it right here, take out the bolt and connect it. And then this one's going to connect to the dump pack wire as well onto the positive side of the dump pack. Positive and positive, just remember that. Okay. Now the batteries, what are these called? The ETX 16s. These actually do come with bolts already. So Rob won't give you these bolts in the kit, but they do come with the batteries themselves. And I'm connecting the auxiliary wire here and screwing that in. And you want to make sure you do this cable first before you're doing the copper plate. That way you don't create a circuit here. Looks like I'm going to flip this around. This time shaking is ugly. Make sure you make sure the connections are away from each other, and these are going to be, looks like, number 10 bolts. Yeah, they're number 10 bolts. Actually, I really like this connection. I mean, these are a lot easier to put in, and they're nice and tight in there, so I like that. Okay. Good job, Tim. Hands like the top. And it's really nice working from the top here instead of the bottom before. It's a nice choice by Rob on these batteries. I really like these. Go ahead, okay, and next we're going to do is lay the face on. That applies. The face is here. Okay. And next thing we do is lay the push on. Just like that. And now we hold them on. Just like this. Really like this setup a little more so far. So it comes. And we'll go ahead and attach the bracket on top of the batteries and then the negative cable. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to touch the whole lock. No, pushing part. I like it on a month. Without the base set. I'm pretty excited. I should get it back right now. It's not the same card though. Okay, let's go ahead and connect the negative. This is a new Odyssey battery. Rob will supply, so you don't need to actually order these with the Odyssey battery. That is an option that you can do online, but you don't need to. Rob, nicely enough, makes it. And once again, it is a 10. And I, again, really like the new battery situation. Go ahead and connect our lines. Here. On first. Okay, place. Ready. Delete. Open time. That's fantastic. And okay, there. Okay. All right. Okay, so here we are underneath the car installing the new switch. Now, a couple things. One, you'll notice that I have my other switch still there. I got to move that out of the way here. But when you're installing this, again, it goes in the same position. Make sure you keep it nice and straight with the pedal. You want it straight up and down. Now, you want the two activation points to occur at 65% of the pedal depression. Let me move my old switch out of the way here. Okay, you want the first one to occur at 65% of the pedal depression, and the second one, there's the first one, and then the last one to occur at around 90-95%. You can kind of hear it one more time. If you're not getting at those points, what you're going to want to do is pull back on this trigger, back towards you, about 1/8 of an inch, and that should work. But kind of play with it. Now, the OFT is actually really great at the open flash tablet, is really great at measuring the accelerator pedal and where the initiation is. So connect your OFT, turn on the car without turning on the car, so put it in the on position, push down on the pedal and see where it activates the two switches at. Get it so it's about 60-65% and 90-95% to 100, or 90-100%. Once you have those that's set to the right position, you should be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and bolt this in and finish wiring. Okay, so normally what we would do is send in our 6-pin connector or whatever it was through here, through our little firewall hole here. Unfortunately, if you look at this pin's a little bit bigger than that rubber grommet. Now, I'm sure I could force my way through that, but I don't like forcing anything. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, since now we have these guys, what I'm going to do is go from the engine bay in. So let's go ahead and do that instead. So I'm going to come around here. This is work that I've already done. And let's send this through. Now, the hole is going to be down here and into the firewall down here. Just fill around until you feel a rubber grommet down here, right next to the battery. It's like right underneath this like little metal shelf here, and you'll feel the rubber grommet. And I'm going to send those wires through. This is definitely something you don't want to do with the engine bay hot, to say the least. So please be careful. Okay, so the wires are pulled through here, coming in from the firewall. So here are the jacks here. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I ran the wires underneath the carpet like before. I pulled out this little plastic piece here. It's like a little washer. Here it is, right there. It connects right here. I just unscrew it and I slide the wire underneath it. And then I just go ahead and cap it back on. And now what that does is keeps the wire nice in a nice location, like the old installs. And then just go ahead and run the wire here. Once you reach to this point, you're going to send the wires through here to the other side, and we'll grab it from the driver's side bay. Alright, and the wires are pulled through like so. I'm going to go ahead and go to the other side. And you can see now that we have the black wire here, the black jack, and also the red jack. And get the old switch out of the way here. Okay, so what we're gonna go ahead and do now is go ahead and wire these to both the throttle switch here. So I'm gonna run this to the throttle switch and also the LED. I'm not a huge fan of this location down here for the LED. I actually really like it right here, and the reason I like it here is that I can actually read the readings on the battery when I'm driving. So I like to put it right there, and it's convenient for the on-off switch. So, and if you look at it, here's the actual LED reader, and then attached to it is the on-off, auto on-off fuse connector, and that goes in the same exact spot as the old design. So that'll come up right here right now. Okay, so the red connector, here we go, is going to go to the activation switch, and that's on the back side here on the right. That's on the back side on the right here. And the black connector, yeah, there it is going to go up to the LED, and that goes on the bottom bit. And go ahead and put the side panels back on. You can see the wires underneath are fine. The connector there, the jack point connection there. And come back around. And you can see I have a little bit of extra, oh, it's not focusing here. There we go. It's not, there's a little extra, so I'm gonna go ahead and send the extra through the firewall. See our wire coming out from the firewall there, right above the overpipe. Now, don't leave too much slack there. You don't want that heat of that overpipe to melt your wires. So you can see I left the shielding on, the plastic shielding here, on the wire down below, all the way down to the firewall, so that way it has protection. And then up here, I had an extra piece of this wrap here, so I went ahead and slid my wire into this wrap with the wire that's leading towards the terminal. So this is the controller wire, and I follow that back all the way to my connector, and I've actually connected it to the controller. Now, from our controller, we should have a positive and negative wire like so. This actually goes to the controller, has nice rubber, these nice eyelets, and these are going to connect to either side of the battery post like so. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so the last thing you want to do is go ahead and connect these three wires, the red, the blue, the black, from the controller to the motor. You're going to go ahead and connect the dump pack to each other, and then the next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and zip tie everything here. So what I'm going to go ahead and show you is me zip tying this. There's actually some really nice holes here to kind of keep everything nice and tidy, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, as you can see here, I went ahead and zip tied it to here, zip tied it here, zip tied it here, next to the controller, and as well as here. So it keeps everything out of the way. Plus my wire going down to the firewall is away from all the heat areas, and it's zip tied down there as well to keep everything nice and safe. Next up is the sound sequencing. It should sound like when you're starting this system. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start the car without actually turning it on. I'm just going to put it in the on position, and you should hear the engine. the motor turn on. And one more time, just so you can hear it, it's that sequence of like high-pitched beeps. Okay, now the car's on, the system is on, and you can see it actually charging there. It actually went up 0.1 volts there. Now, on normal use, when you're just sitting here, and it's not too hot, the system should be reading 28 point something volts. It could be anywhere from 0.1 all the way up to like 0.8, 0.9. It should be 28 volts point something. Now, my last actual reader here actually only read like 28.2, 28.3. This one's reading 28.6. So obviously there's a little bit of variance in these voltage readers. Now, if it says 28.6 and you're just sitting there, everything's running perfectly, no problem. Okay, so this is kind of hard to do with a manual car here, but I'll do my best. So right now it's reading 28.6. The first thing I'm going to show is going to be drag reduction. What drag reduction is if there's low pressure behind the system, so behind the supercharger. So it'll be like under high acceleration without actually activating the system. So I'll show you that right now. I'm going to try to accelerate without, whoops. You should see it go down a little bit. That's basically showing that it's actually activating without actually activating the system. Now I'm going to go ahead and activate the system. And you see it drop down. And it's actually accelerating fairly quickly. Now the batteries do need to be conditioned. Typically they have to be conditioned after a lot of cycles. And after they warm up, they actually do a better job. So I'll go ahead and do this again. And that's it. I would recommend moving the switch in a position where you can actually go to full throttle without actually activating it. That's about 70%. And so I add a little bit more than that. That way you can drive normally without actually activating the system. It's the way I've been getting used to it, and it works actually fairly well. So that way you can accelerate like that without actually activating the system. It only turns on the GR. All right, guys, that's it for now.